NFL Power Rankings heading into Week 7. Probably the craziest NFL season that I've ever seen. So these are probably going to be the craziest Power Rankings you've ever seen. Jets remain at 32. A winnable game in London. Defense did their part. Not so much for the offense. Another disastrous outing for them and Aaron Glenn and that coaching staff. 31, the Tennessee Titans right there with the Jets. Just clearly the two worst teams in football. Difference is the Titans have a win somehow. Still don't know how they beat the Cardinals a week ago. But a brutal outing against the Raiders. Raiders weren't even that good, but the Titans almost didn't stand a chance. That's pretty bad. Fired Callahan today. They're going against Vrabel this week. We'll see how that goes. 30, Browns down a spot. They stuck in this game. Defense kind of keeps them in it. Wish they were able to run the ball a little more, but coming from behind, the offense just doesn't have enough there. So they're at 30. The Raiders at 29. They go up a spot. First win since week 1. They do have 2 wins. I'm just not overly impressed. The only thing I'm impressed with here is the pass rush. So I do think there's teams around the same win totals or even one less win that have just passed the eye test a little bit more. Raiders got to get something consistent going for me now, win some football games, and they'll start to move up even more. But they do go up a spot. 28, the Saints, I think they're playing better in their record. They put up a fight with the Patriots. Maybe they got some help with some calls, but I feel like some of the young talent on this team is getting better and better. They're a sneaky one. They still have that win against the Giants from last week that looks a little bit even better right now. But, yeah, they got outplayed by the Patriots. I keep talking about the red zone execution and play calling needs to be better. They're going to go down a spot to number 28. 27, the Dolphins down a spot. Overall, they've been playing better as well. They just can't finish these games off. It's one they should win against the Chargers. I guess it's hard to say the defense is playing better because it's one of the very worst in football. They can't stop the run. They allowed big plays, especially at the end. But if they put together a complete game, there might be a much better of a team. They just can't do that right now. So they're down a spot to number 27, a tough one. The Bengals down a spot. Yeah, they're winning a bunch right now, some games by a bit. But, I mean, they showed signs of life in this game against Green Bay. They didn't make it super easy for Green Bay. They have signs of life with Joe Flacco in there. They do have 2 wins. And the teams they have lost to are some pretty good teams, really, overall. So down a spot to 26. They'll play the Steelers this week on Thursday. That actually could be a sneaky game. 25, the Ravens. This is how weird this season is. The Ravens are down 3 spots. They're at 25. It's just weird seeing the Ravens logo in that spot. Again, these power rankings, I always say it, they're not predictions, but I am predicting the Ravens to get healthy and turn it around and make a push. I really do think they can do that. There is a positive takeaway. The defense stepped up in this game, and said, hey, we can improve, kind of like we did last year. So they're going to get healthy, and they possibly could figure it out after the bye here. But right now, they have 1 win. They're getting, even though they're beat up, no excuses. Everybody's beat up. They're getting beat up right now. So they're at 25. I'd imagine they climb, but they have to actually go out and do it for me to move them up in these rankings. The Cardinals are going to stay put. They actually put up a fight with the Colts. They were very, very close to winning the game. They did not win the game, but the offense, the passing attack, I should say, had some life with Jacoby Brissett instead of Kyler Murray. So that's interesting. The first time the run defense let them down all year, and that was kind of the difference, but they were 1 play away from winning that game. Couldn't really move them down, but obviously things aren't great for them. Giants up 5 spots. They dominate the Eagles. Now I want to see them put something a little more consistent together. They'd be much higher in this if they had a 3-game winning streak, if they took care of business against the Saints last week, but just absolutely dominate the Eagles, out physical them. I mean, Brian Daboll called one of the best games he's called as the Giants head coach, and he actually had a pretty good year when they went to the playoffs. So maybe it's saying something. So everything looks great with the young guys like Scadaboo and obviously Jackson Dart. So Giants up 5 spots to number 23. Let's see if they can get something consistent going here. Cowboys down 3 spots, number 22. The offense, even without CeeDee Lamb, explosive. Dak playing some really good football. Run game a little underwhelming this week, but the offense, fantastic. The defense is brutal. It's so bad that it's going to be tough to win every single week. I'm not saying they're going to lose every week because of the defense, but every week will be a challenge because how bad that defense is. And you can blame coaching all you want. Reality is the talent is just not there, not even close to there. So they're down 3 spots after losing to the Panthers, a close one. And there's the Panthers. The Panthers, you want to move them up more than 1 spot because they won 2 in a row. They beat a high-powered high-powered offense, I should say, with their offense. Really, the defense was a little underwhelming in terms of pass defense, but I do like the run defense. Just want to see a little bit more to fully believe in them. The teams ahead of them, I just feel like based on the eye test and consistency overall, they've been a little bit better. But they'll play the Jets this week on the road. Let's see if the Panthers can win a game on the road. They better win that one, and then they can move up even more. So let's see if they can get things rolling here. I've been believing in them at home. I picked them 2 weeks in a row. They got it. They kind of just squeaked by, but they got the job done here. Number 20, the Texans stay put off the bye. Didn't want to move them down. I considered the Panthers ahead of them. Actually have one more win as well, but the Texans arguably have the best defense in football. They won 2 straight games where they just absolutely obliterated. Maybe that's a little generous on the last game for sure against the Ravens, their competition, their opponent. So I just think the eye test simply says you can't really move them down below the teams that are below them here. So I had them stay put at number 20. Interesting game against Seattle this week. Having that good defense. The Texans are struggling because their offense, even though they're winning, they won 2 in a row. But having that defense gives you a shot to win any week. So they're not an easy opponent. Here's the Vikings at 19. They are on a bye, and they are coming off a win, but they're down a spot. Just a weird situation. We'll just reveal the next couple teams here because it was kind of almost a tie here between these 3 teams, and people always talk about head-to-head. In the comments, there's been 6 weeks of football, 32 teams. We can't base it strictly off 2 teams playing each other one time. I hope you can understand that. But it can be a tiebreaker of sorts if I'm like, these teams have the same resume. They're the same to me on the eye test. They have similar or the same records. Then it could come down to that. So a little tricky here because the Vikings did beat the Bears, and with the lesser quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, they have similar resumes. So part of me is like, maybe the Vikings have to be ahead of the Bears. The Vikings are off the bye. The Bears are off a 3-game winning streak, though. 3-game winning streak. So that could be the difference here. And then you have the Commanders moving down a whopping 9 spots, which is tough because they did beat the Chargers a week ago. And now this week they lose to the Bears. A wild game. Absolutely a wild game. A lot of penalties, a lot of sloppy play from the Commanders. You could argue the Commanders outplayed the Bears, but then just kind of choked at the end. I mean, Jaden Daniels just simply dropped the ball. So looking at it that way, it's like, it's hard to move the Commanders down 9 spots. Do I need to have the Commanders below the Bears, even though the Bears just beat them? But at the same time, the Commanders kind of just losing that game almost on their own there with that mistake. The Bears still went out, won the game. They technically still have a better record than the Commanders. They're on a 3-game winning streak. And a lot of the time when I say a team maybe outplay, and they didn't really outplay the Bears by a ton. I guess that's debatable. But when I say a team outplays the other team, typically they are deserving of winning that game. They just don't. I don't know if that's the case here for the Commanders. Are they deserving of winning that game? They probably should have won against the Bears. I'm not going to say that. They made those mistakes. I'm not thrilled with the coaching in this game. That is a college offense, and that's a problem. In short yardage situations, you got to be in shotgun, and everybody's running all over the Bears. Why couldn't the Commanders run on the Bears? I think it's because it's that college offense. Why does every run have to be a read option? Or that type of play. It makes it so delayed, and that's a problem. So I'm going to blame Kingsbury. I'm going to blame Dan Quinn for the management of the timeouts at the end, but the players for the executions, the sloppy play, the turnovers. Jaden Daniels dropped that ball, and he had a free touchdown early in the game. He just threw it right to Jaquan Brisker. So they absolutely choked this game. They were lucky to beat the Chargers last week. They were unlucky this week, but they're sloppy. The Bears have a better record, and they won the game. And that's the difference here with these 3 teams. With similar resumes, blah, blah, blah. The Bears are on a 3-game winning streak. Now, luck has definitely been on their side. I mean, 25-24, 2 games in a row against the Raiders and Commanders kind of ends in similar fashion. And that, if there was a knock on the Bears, I mean, they're on a 3-game winning streak. The offense is explosive. They're much improved on offense. They create plays on takeaways on defense. So there's a lot to applaud right now. But if there is a knock on the Bears, it's like, this is probably not going to keep up with these crazy takeaways, and they're barely getting by. So what happens if they do not create these takeaways? And it's actually the same thing I've been saying about the Jags, who are down 6 spots, and yeah, it's 1 loss. They were hot before that, so it is tough moving them down 6 spots. But you'll see, there's a lot of good teams up here that are winning one week, losing the next week. But the Jags and the Bears are kind of been similar, where they're getting these. They're barely getting by some games and winning because of some clutch turnovers. And my question's kind of been for these teams, obviously it's not going to happen every week. So what happens if it does? They don't get those crazy turnovers? Can they pull it off still? And then we kind of saw that, and it's not a fact yet. It's only one game, but we saw that with Jacksonville, where things, didn't go their way for once, right? They didn't get those crazy turnovers. It was kind of an even battle. The Jacksonville Jaguars would kind of take advantage of the Seahawks missing a lot of key guys in the secondary, and they really couldn't do that. When pressure's on Trevor Lawrence, it's a different ball game. When they're not creating takeaways, it looked like a different ball game. So I'm actually not as thrilled overall with their resume as some others may be. I thought they were just kind of relying off those crazy takeaways, which they made those plays. But I want to be shown more from Jacksonville here, but they're still a top half team here. I compare them to the Bears. I think they're better than the Bears. I think their resume is better than the Bears. That's why they're ahead of them. But big one against the Rams in London, maybe a second home for Jacksonville. Does that give them an advantage? Puka's out. Does that give them an advantage? Devin Lloyd is out, been a big-time linebacker. Does that give the Rams the advantage? That's going to be an interesting game, tough one to pick. Falcons up 2 spots. I mean, they go in prime time. I was going to say they go to Buffalo. No, they stay home in Atlanta, getting it out now, and they take care of business against the Buffalo Bills from start to finish. I felt like they tried to blow this game. I felt like they were going to do it for a little bit. Love the way the defense stepped up. A win like this, again, another team you want to move up more. I mean, for a 3-2 record, this is probably about as high as they possibly could be right now. Can they continue to put some things together, like, keep winning, keep stacking? They got if they beat the Niners this upcoming week, I mean, that they're going to get a big boost. They're going to tell me, all right, 3 in a row, this team's serious, resume's that much better, so boom, they'll rise up even more. But definitely a team that is catching my eye right now. Number 14, a whopping 12 spots, very rare in these power rankings, 12 spots down for the Philadelphia Eagles. And this is the craziest season I've ever watched, definitely the craziest season I've ever covered. So these power rankings are probably going to be look crazy, because that's what's going on right now. There's a lot of good teams. I still think the Eagles could be a good team at the end of the day. They're simply not a good team right now. They're bad. They lost 2 in a row, and it's that Giants game. This week, who is the worst team in football? It was the Eagles. And these power rankings aren't all about one week, but the team was so bad, and I'm pretty confident the Titans or the Jets would have beat them this week. That's how bad they were. Not to discredit the Giants dominated them, right? If Titans and Jets would have squeaked by them, in my opinion. So a little different there. But Eagles, I question coaching. I question play calling. I question Jalen Hurts when things aren't perfect. I question the receivers, mainly A.J. Brown, not the talent level. They were getting open all day, but they're how invested are they right now? And I question that for the whole team. The effort on defense is brutal. The corners are brutal. The pass rush, brutal. The run defense, nowhere near the same, especially without Jalen Carter. So this team looks very beatable in multiple different ways here. They had a little extra break to kind of figure it out. And they'll play the Vikings, who are off the bye, maybe get a little healthier. Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to say, too. Like I said, the Bears, Commanders, Vikings, I was kind of flip-flopping those teams, kind of not much splitting them up. I think the Vikings go beat the Eagles this week. That could be enough to kind of separate that tiebreaker. But the Bears got the Saints, the Commanders. Already forgetting who the Commanders play. Somebody not quite is the Cowboys. They play the Cowboys, which is a tough challenge with that offense. So, yeah, Eagles, Vikings. That's a weird one. Another tough one to pick. I feel like the Eagles should be a lot better. Are they? I don't know. That I was just still stunned about the Eagles' performance on Thursday Night Football. That looked like one of the worst teams in football, and that's 2 in a row that they lost. The offense has been very bland. 13, the Chargers go down a spot despite them winning, so somewhat of a rare occasion. A little fortunate to pull this one out. I mean, they outplayed the Dolphins for most of this game, though. The production shows that they dominated this game. They created takeaways and made big-time plays on offense, but run defense is brutal right now. And they're allowing too many. I mean, the fact that they didn't put that game away with everything going their way is, I mean, they won the game, but just a little more impressed, especially recent weeks, the resume, a little more impressed with some other teams, so they're deserving of being number 13. Steelers go up 3 spots. It's a team that has a pretty damn good record. I'm just kind of waiting to I want to be a little more impressed with Pittsburgh, but they do go up 3 spots. They do, I don't want to say dominate the Browns. I mean, in a way they did. They just kind of let the Browns stick in there for a little bit, but they had control of this game, throughout the entire game. They made plays on defense. They, had the passing game and the run game going a little bit as well. Made big time plays when needed to. They're up 3 spots, 12. Broncos are going to stay put. They pulled off a win. The Jets were laughable, across all, social media. Everyone's laughing at the Jets, and the Jets were kind of in the driver's seat in this game. Broncos defense is something. It could be the best in football. It's right up there. This is an offensive season, though. Clutch offensive plays and the offenses that take care of the football are winning, or the best teams and winning games right now. So they got to figure out that offense a little more. The Eagles win doesn't look as impressive anymore because that team's just straight up bad right now, but they did get that win. So, I mean, we're not going to move them down. We're going to stay put at number 11. Number 10, the Bills go down 6 spots. Just super weird to see the Bills down here, but that's 2 in a row they lost where they got outplayed. In 2 in a row, and even in their wins, we were talking about it every step of the way. Besides the Jets game, and it was the Jets, they're number 32. They have not been impressive even in the wins, but I still view this team as, at the end of the day, they'll probably be a top team. But there's some issues right now. The defense got them in a hole. The defense did step it up as the game went on. Technically, I mean, the Falcons still moved the ball. Unfortunate, they didn't kick a field goal at one point because they moved the ball then. Drake London almost scored at the end of the half. They moved the ball then. They had a blocked field goal. They moved the ball then. So I kind of got to stop myself where the defense did technically keep them in the game, but they still got some big-time issues. They allowed 2 big of plays. They struggled to tackle, fill gaps, and it's a problem. And somehow the offense is a problem right now. Josh Allen has to carry too much. James Cook could participate if he is able to, if they're not playing from behind. Shakir is a stud. The other receivers, I know Palmer got banged up, but they don't get separation consistently enough. They need a legit number 1 receiver, and you could say Shakir's that guy. I'll say they need a legit number 1 outside receiver. Shakir is actually probably one of the better slot receivers in football. I love him, but very underwhelming really everywhere right now. I still think they're a good team, but it's not going great right now. They're down 6 spots. I love the way the New England Patriots are playing. They beat the Bills last week, and that was 2 in a row. We needed to see 3 in a row, and we got that against the Saints. Saints are a little more difficult to deal with than people realize, but they outplayed them, and things did not go their way, especially with the calls in this game, and felt like they outplayed them more than the score showed. They need to get the run game going, though. That's a problem. They just, for some reason, don't trust TreVeyon Henderson a ton. They need to get the run game going. Everything else looks great. Drake May legit looks like one of the better quarterbacks in football. He played out of his mind in this game. I don't know if the stats fully show it, but not fully show it. The receivers are coming alive outside of Diggs. You love to see that, getting Pop Douglas going and Booty going. And then defensively, I love the way they stopped the run. That's a big-time key. And they gave up a little bit through the air, but it's a pass defense that can make some plays, obviously. So I'm just very impressed with this team. I think they have some ingredients to be a legit team, better than everyone expected. So Bills win last week, the Saints win this week, and they put together a bit of a winning streak. Even their last loss, they kind of outplayed the Steelers. They just got a little unlucky. So I'm starting to like this resume here for them. The Niners down 2 spots to 8. Sloppy one against the Bucs. They kind of stuck around a little bit, but they gave up a lot of big plays. Defensively, I mean, they're dropping like flies. It's ridiculous, but everybody's hurt, but the Niners are on a different level. And offensively, I mean, they made some plays through the air. They also made a lot of mistakes through the air, and they were just playing from behind the whole time. They do have a Rams win from a week ago that's still pretty impressive on the resume. The Seahawks game in week 1. A couple other ones. I still think highly of them, especially given the circumstances. They're down 2 to 8. 7, the Chiefs go up 6 spots. They don't have the best record in the world, especially compared to the teams up here, but plain and simple, this team, you got to make an exception for their record. They played the Lions, who were ranked number 1 last week in the power rankings, and then they legit outplayed them, dominated them in the second half. They legit looked like the Chiefs. Explosive plays on offense. Even got the run game going a little bit. Defense, they were getting pressure when they absolutely needed to, and that's huge. When you do that against the Lions, it's kind of rare, and when you do it, it does something. So they're up 6 spots to number 7. It's probably the best the highest the 3-loss team has been ranked at this point in these power rankings ever. So now they get Rashee Rice back, so they're going to be even better. They're actually one of the more healthy teams in football too. So it's looking good. If I had to predict, I think the Chiefs continue to climb, but these aren't prediction like power rankings. They're at number 7. Seahawks go up a whopping 8 spots. Seahawks definitely more impressive than expected so far, at least. This week they take on the Jags, who were getting hot, and that's a team that's been making some crazy plays. The Seahawks didn't allow that to happen, right? And then they just completely outplayed the score. Perfect world, I wish the score kind of showed it. Go put them away. Don't get so conservative. Don't insist the run game's got to work if it's not working. Perfect world, the run game can work a little bit better. But even with all that, they outplayed the Jags the whole game. The defense got pressure, and that was the key. They're missing some key guys in the secondary when they absolutely needed to throughout the entire game. Darnold, JSN, even Cooper Kupp. I mean, JSN's been ridiculous. Darnold's been playing very well, too. Just they made big time plays when they needed to. So that's a big win. This win did a lot for me for Seattle. I mean, going back to last week too, they lost a nail biter that they very easily could have won against the Bucs, and you'll see where the Bucs are ranked in this week. It's a legit team, so that loss doesn't look all that bad right now. Their losses in general really don't look all that bad right now. So yeah, kind of needed a good win like this because the resume wasn't fully there yet. So they're going to go up 8 spots to number 6. They can play on both sides of the ball. Not too many teams with some good bounce right now. I do think the Texans on prime time could be a little bit of a trap because they're playing a seriously good defense, so the offense has to be on. But I think it's going to be a defensive battle. So, those defensive battles, anyone could win. But the Seahawks got that extra juice on offense. It's a big reason why they're ranked pretty high. I love the balance. Number 5, the Rams go up 3 spots. This is where the power rankings get weird this week because so many teams in the top 4 or so lost. The Rams weren't really that impressive at all. At least they were impressive on defense, right? I know they played Cooper Rush. Everybody's missing some guys. They dominated on defense. They made plays when they absolutely needed to. Things didn't really go their way at all times, and they kind of changed that. They made plays go their way. So at least they had that going. From the offense was pretty underwhelming. The Ravens got a little healthier on defense and changed some things that we really didn't see on film for them, so it kind of caught the Rams off guard. So still a good team. Still a team that's capable of doing stuff on both sides of the ball. They've shown that throughout this year. It just kind of matters. It comes down to if they take care of the ball, and then they're a good team. We didn't really see that in the Niners game, but so it's again, this single week, not overly impressive outside of defense, but they get some help from other teams losing, so they're up 3 spots, number 5. Lions go down 3 spots, number 4. They got dominated by the Chiefs. I mean, not right from the start, but they got completely outplayed as the game went on. It just kind of reminds you, like, the Lions kind of need things to be going perfectly. They need to be the run game to be in the game. They can't allow pressure on Goff. They got to convert these crazy 4th downs. So that's kind of the bad look for the Lions, but this is still a really good football team, and they were looking like the best team in football before this game, but that was a tough one for them, so they do go down 3 spots, number 4. The Packers go up 4 spots, and I know people are going to go, that win against the Bengals, are they deserving enough of being number 3 or going up 4 spots? And specifically that game, it was a little underwhelming, but at the same time, they were dominating at times, and they controlled that game all the way through. Why they're underwhelming, according to everyone, and either they're underwhelming in that game as well, is because there's such high expectations for Green Bay. They got back in the win column. They only have 1 loss. A lot of these teams are losing a bit, and through part of the resume, they look dominant. Like the first 2 games look like easily the best team in football. They have a head-to-head win against the Lions, 1 less loss. So put all that together. Got to put the Packers at number 3 here. Number 2, the Colts are number 2. I mean, who would have thought the Colts would be at number? I mean, just seeing that logo there. I never would have guessed it. I kept saying they could be a little sneaky this year. Didn't really expect this. Are they, again, these power ranks, some people do their power rankings like their Super Bowl odds, if it's that way, then you don't put the Colts at 2 probably. I mean, anybody has a shot this year, it feels like, and they're good right now, but their playing is consistent, as good as anyone right now. They almost let this one slip away against the Cardinals, but I just feel like they can win in so many different ways. We've seen them win with defense this year. They stopped the run pretty well. They're a little beat up in the secondary. The pass defense wasn't that great, but In this game, Daniel Jones made plays through the air. We saw some clutch catches, through the air in this game when they absolutely needed to, and Jonathan Taylor just ran all over a pretty good run defense in the Cardinals. So they've done a bit of everything this year. They've been consistent for the most part. They've won in different ways. They had a dominating, outing last week. Not too many teams had that. So the Colts are deserving, based on what they've done this year, at being at number 2, and it helps that some of these teams like the Lions, the Bills, the Eagles, they look bad, they lose. So it helps. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers definitely deserving of being the number 1 team in football. Their only loss was to the Eagles. And you start to look at the Eagles' resume. I forgot to mention that as well. Like, they lost 2 in a row. I feel like they were fortunate to beat the Bucs. Things went their way early. They were fortunate that the Bucs didn't come back and win. The calls went their way. The Chiefs game, got Kelsey in the end zone. The ball ricochets, goes to someone else's hands. So that's the other thing with the Eagles too. Have the wins been that impressive? But back to the Bucs. Yeah, only loss was, if you're going to talk about resume, that's, I guess, a good loss to have. But they have some wins against some good teams. They're explosive on offense, through the air, on the ground, clutch at the end of games. Defensively, they typically do a good job stopping a run. They give up a little bit through the air, but they can make clutch plays, get their hands on the ball. They take down a good Niners team. The Niners stuck around for a little bit, but they controlled that game. They outplayed them pretty much the entire time. And it's a well-coached, good team with San Francisco there. And I know the Niners are very beat up, but guess who else is one of the most beat up teams in football? Tampa Bay, and they're still that good. Now Ibuka goes down, but they might get some guys back. They will play the Lions in Detroit. Primetime football next week. It's a bad time to play the Lions right off a loss. They got to go home field advantage, but they're going to get some guys back. It looks like the Lions might be missing Branch. We'll see how the appeal goes. That game could go either way. Cannot wait for it. Man, this never seen a season like this, so I've never had power rankings like this, but this is where the teams put themselves based off not just this past week of play, but the entire 2025 wacky season so far. Teams got to cut it out with the turnovers. There's so many turnovers this year where it's like, typically in the past, it's like, all right, just really good defense. And there's some moments like that, but there's so many turnovers this year where it's like, the defense didn't even do anything. The offense just, what are they doing? Like, a lot of the time I feel like I'm not watching professional ball. That part irritates me because I love me some college football, but I love having both. I feel like I'm watching the same college football here, so that's my take on how things are going. Typically, there's NFL seasons where that sloppy stuff happens. I think majority of seasons, it happens through like 3 weeks. Then it's maybe some years it's 4 weeks, some years it's 2 weeks, some years you get up to 5 weeks of crazy madness and sloppy play. I guess maybe this year it's maybe through 6. Maybe we're going more. Maybe it's going to last all year. We'll see. Insane season. I guess it's entertaining, right? So there you have it for the power rankings. Wild. Absolutely. I still can't believe it. But there you have it. Next video, our picks show with the guys, and we'll have score predictions and a lot more throughout the week. Been covering the trade deadline already. Some videos up. Definitely more to come. Things are really heating up. We'll probably get some trades go down this week as well. That's how things been going. But yeah, join us, like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.